Jon, Anik, and Kenny Florian podcast. Jon, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
I f***ing love him. I can't get enough of him.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, out cold. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness.
Hyperbole.
There are a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, Jon, Anik, and Kenny Florian.
Headshot, bang.
All right, UFC 295 just days away. It is great to be back with all of you fine people. We never take your viewership nor your listenership for granted. It is episode 448 of the Anik and Florian podcast, presented by DraftKings on the DraftKings Network, on the DraftKings YouTube channel as well. Pink's a pretty good color on you, Ken Flo. How about this forest green, though, logo that we're rocking today? I have to say, right? And sorry if I'm beginning the show this way again, but my twin brother Jason and his wife Amanda put so much effort into launching JonAnik.com, our new store, the different colorations. And I think you look fantastic today. That's all.
Yeah. Well, thank you, sir. I do like a good pink every once in a while, but forest green is probably one of my favorite colors.
There you go.
So good choice.
All right, so friend. UFC 295 is nearly upon us. Brian Petrie coming up in about 5 minutes. Massive selections coming your way for the pay-per-view this weekend. UFC 295, Prochazka versus Pereira. Don't forget, you can also check out on the DraftKings YouTube channel right now our conversation with Eric Nixick last week, if you are still craving the Francis Ngannou content after his outstanding showing against Tyson Fury. But with this pay-per-view a few days away, it was to be UFC 295, Jones versus Miocic. And some people have criticized me perhaps for sounding a little bit shill-like when I am promoting the new heavyweight fight between Tom Aspinall and Sergei Pavlovich and talking about, those two guys being primed and primal and everything else, and how Jones and Miocic maybe are just showing up for one final dance. So I would ask you now, being a little bit removed from this UFC picture, having your paycheck cut by BattleBots and the PFL and everybody else, where is your relative enthusiasm for this fight card now compared to when Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic were the men on the marquee?
Right. Well, I was a little disappointed, right? I mean, obviously, it's an event when Jon Jones competes, similar to Conor McGregor, Khabib. When you get these massive names, it just feels a little bit different. But as far as firepower, as far as excitement, as far as delivering action, this card, I don't think lost too much of that. First of all, Pereira Prochazka is going to be insane. That's a fight I've been wanting to see for a very long time. And then it's kind of powered again with some other heavyweights in Pavlovich and Aspinall. Two guys with an amazing arsenal that love to finish fights. So that's the benefit of having a roster like the UFC that is so large and so deep, where you can put these guys in these positions on relatively short notice. And kudos to both of those guys for stepping up. And I still think it's going to be a phenomenal
You're right
card.
about the Jon Jones effect, and that is sort of a good way to contextualize it. It does feel enormous when that guy is headlining. I guess I just had my reservations in terms of my own enthusiasm or excitement because we were without Jon Jones for so many years that wrapping my head around him competing in March and then again in November, it just didn't seem realistic. Yeah, and you can say this injury was fluky, but I don't know. I just really hope that we get to see him at least one more time, but ideally first or second quarter of 2024. But we're loaded, as you might expect. Mark your calendars, folks. And I think for many people, you're blocking off the whole day, November 11th. Jiří Procházka and Alex Pereira at UFC 295. Only one fighter leaves with the championship, though. You can secure your own win, though, right now with unbeatable offers on DraftKings Sportsbook. And new customers, strike now. You'll get $200 instantly in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Main event still close on paper. Alex Pereira, the favorite. Jiří Procházka, slightly to the underdog. And the co-main event, as we mentioned, Tommy Aspinall, Sergei Pavlovich. Two-way action coming in. That one is even closer, at least on the betting odds right now. And you can get in on all the UFC 295 action with DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. Download the app now. Use code AFPOD. New customers get $200 instantly in bonus bets when you bet $5. That is code AFPOD, only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net. In New York, Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/MMA terms for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. My favorite part of the show, predictions for a pay-per-view. It happens 14 times a year. UFC 295 beckons on Saturday. Let us get to the main event challenge.
It's the main event challenge. Anik.
The time is most definitely now.
Florian.
I finish fights. I'm going to do everything possible to win.
The main event challenge. The Jon Anik and Kenny Florian podcast.
And for that main event challenge, we call on the capable mind and body of Brian Petrie.
Yes.
I mean, we're not just calling on your mind, we're calling on your body, especially when you're at a UFC live event, because in terms of the Anik and Florian podcast team muscle, right?
Yeah.
I love that people think that you're like 5'8".
It's funny. That's the first thing Bilal Muhammad said to me. He's like, "You're this big?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man. Sorry, yeah."
Like when people always say, "Oh, Bruce Buffer, he's super nice," I say, don't mistake his kindness for weakness. That dude, 65 or otherwise, will fuck you up. Brian Petrie will fuck most of you out there up.
I'll have to do it.
I should probably clean up the language now that we're sponsoring soccer teams, Ken Flo, huh?
I saw that, but this is what we are. This is what we got to be, John.
I did say to Ken Flo off the air, and I can't tell the story here, but let me just say, thankfully, none of my children project to be high-level athletes. I hope they can't hear me right now, because I don't think I'm cut out to be that dad. I think I'm confrontational.
Yeah.
I think I'm just not a great sports dad. So I'm going to leave it at that. All right. So I want to quickly, Bri, if I could, Ken Flo, if you can just chill for a couple minutes. I got to get some treetop thoughts on Brian Petrie from last weekend's fight card fight night in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Because you had Nicholas Dalby plus 400. You laid it out beautifully for our listeners. So as you're watching that play out, I guess I'm just curious what your mentality is knowing you had that ticket.
It was almost like I wrote the fucking script for the fight. It was weird. I knew Bonfim was going to come out hot. And if Dalby lasted that first round, which he did, I was like, Dalby's going to take over. I was holding a Dalby money line and Dalby by decision plus 750 because he's never finished in the UFC. I wish I would have touched on the little finish prop. It was like probably plus 1200. But after he ate that first right hand within the first 5 seconds, the biggest right hand in the fight, he ate that like it was a tic-tac and kept moving forward. And I went, oh, this dude's, because all week he was talking about, I'm in the best shape, I'm in the best mental. And I was like, this dude's going to do it, right? 4-1 over a guy who doesn't really fight out of the first round. And I thought he fought beautifully. I mean, he, on the ground, he played it safe because he knew if he got up in a certain way, his neck's getting taken. And the cardio pressure and just everything. And this is a guy that's a vet who people sleep on a little bit. He's a tough out for a lot of people, man. Again, hasn't been finished. I know there's an explanation, Jesse Ronson, but dude's is nails, right? I mean, and I was so happy to cash that ticket because, it feels good to get something right a little bit. The comments will let you know when you get them wrong.
Right.
It's good to get it right.
You've had a good year, and you were 4-0 last week, plus $1,000, so inching closer to the black on the year. But oftentimes when I do MMA interviews, Ken Flo and Brian, people say like, all right, if you're designing the perfect MMA fighter, maybe you take Anderson Silva's striking, you take Rob Dwalishvili's cardio. Give me fucking Nicholas Dalby's back.
Yeah.
Like, give me that guy's back as an attribute, right? Kenny was joking earlier this week that he has like a fucking energy pack in there,
It's true. Yeah.
Something. All right. We have some pronunciations of the week before we get to these predictions, Brian. And all we want to hear you say, UFC 295 has two headlining athletes competing for the light heavyweight championship. One of them reps the Czech Republic. One represents Brazil. So we'd like you to just say the two guys who are fighting for the title this weekend.
Sure. So I know you are very stickler with Alex's name, right?
Yes.
So
you call him Alex and not Alex. That's fine.
Okay. I know for a fact that I didn't go back because you did a sermon on the podcast. Like, guys, this is how you say it. I didn't go back and watch. I'm trying to stay true. So I would say if I'm sitting with a buddy, I go, Alex Pereira is what I would say. And then the other gentleman, the beautiful gentleman from Czech Republic would be Jiří Procházka.
Dude, you fucking nailed
Prochazka.
Let's go. We're going to have Cody the Maestro Mero, Cody Bone Mero at the controls, play these files for our listenership at this point in time.
Let's kid. Nailed that one. Nailed that
I
one.
love that. I will never not laugh at that.
Alex Porta Pereira. Alex Porta Pereira.
All right, so that is actually Plinio Cruz saying his name, right? But you're absolutely right. There's no H sound, and Ken Flo's the guy I essentially learned from. But with that one R in his name, it's Pereira, or as the Brazilians say it, Pereira, if you roll the R. So Pereira or Pereira or Pereira, both acceptable. And then Jiří Procházka, Cody, if you could just fire off that file if you would as well. But a nice job by Brian Petrie on that one.
Name. Jiří Procházka. Name. Jiří Procházka.
What a savage. What an absolute savage. All right, nice job, Brian Petrie. Let us update the standings here. As we mentioned, big week for BP, 4-0 plus $1,000. That included a 3-unit whack on Caio Borralho. Ken Flo also with an outstanding week. Unable to win 3 successive weeks was Ken Flo, but he goes 3-1, plus 65 to the positive. He did take a $535 loss on Gabriel Bonfim. Otherwise, it would have been plus 600. But a nice week for both of you men. Petrie's lead, 54.05, as we come up on one of the biggest cards of the year, UFC 295. And show policy suggests we pick all UFC fights involving Longos, guys. So to that end, first pick for us, first fight of the night, actually. At featherweight, Jamal Emmers minus 325, Dennis Bazookia plus 260. Brian, Longos guy, a pretty big underdog here. Emmers coming off a competitive split loss to Jack Jenkins back in June. Bazookia dropping the unanimous decision to Sean Woodson in his short notice UFC debut on August 5th. Emmers 34, Bazookia just turned 26. Brian Petrie, who do you have?
So this is good. This is a tough fight. This is a tough fight to pick because you look at the number and Bazooka's got great number next to my plus 260. Then you look at Emmers. He's got a great track record. I mean, he beat Corey Sandhagen back in the day. This guy's been in there with a lot of people. He's tricky on the feet. Good takedown defense. The only times he's ever really lost is when he gets caught, right? Or a close decision. This guy's a gamer. But you got to look at Dennis Bazooka. You got to look past the Sean Woodson fight. He took that in 3 days' notice, almost killed himself with a weight cut, fought a 9-foot guy and got his leg kicked off, right? That's tough for anybody to do. Didn't quit. And if you look at his contender series fights, both fights, one he lost to Bagdasarian, excuse me. That was a tough one. Lost to him, who just recently lost his first time in the UFC. So that's a loss that holds well. And then he beat a stud wrestler in the contenders, didn't get the contract because it wasn't exciting enough. Goes outside the UFC and finishes people. My biggest issue with Bazooka is he sometimes crowds his punches. He doesn't believe himself enough. In the Sean Woodson fight, he had Woodson against the cage, took all his movement, took all his reach away, and was landing shots and then shot for a takedown that he wasn't landing, went 0-for on the takedowns. He had in his head that I got to get this guy down. When that didn't work, he wasn't willing to scrap. With Emmers here, I think that's off the table. You got a full camp. Emmers is impossible to take down. When he does get taken down, he reverses very well. He's scrambling on the feet. He's good. He's lanky. He's 5'10", but he fights a lot longer than that. Bazooka's got to have to be on his A game here. And I'm willing to pay plus 260 to say that he's going to be on his end game. I think this fight is a no-brainer. Over 2.5, that's going to get my money. But on the side, I'm going to take Dennis Bazooka.
Ken Flo, Dennis Bazooka plus 260, Jamal Emmers minus 325. Care to have a wager on this one, sir?
Not an easy fight to pick. And that goes for a lot of the fights on this card. So that's a tricky one. I think from a value perspective, I think Brian has it. I think that makes a whole lot of sense here. I'm curious to see how Bazooka looks here in this fight. I think sometimes he gets a little tight, sometimes doesn't make the best in-fight decisions, and I think he will have to adjust and do some figuring out, some serious problem solving against Emmers, and I think he's a lot better than what his record indicates. But gosh, I do think Emmers gets it done here. I do think his reach, his trickiness on the feet is going to be tough. Doesn't really offer up a whole lot of vulnerabilities here unless he makes a big mistake. I think that's where Bazooka really could take over and win this fight. Certainly capable. I think there's some great value there for Longo's guy, but Give me
Kenny's
Evers
not here to make friends. Picks against Longos guys all day. Just kidding, buddy. All right, next pick for us. Similar theme. Lightweight prelim, also involving one of Longo's gentlemen. Nazim Sadikov, minus 148. Vyacheslav Barshov, plus 124. You can call him Slava Claus if you want, Bri.
Yeah.
Sadikov off to a 2-0 start in the UFC, courtesy of his July submission of Terrence McKinney. McKinney's got 2 TKO wins since then, by the way. Vyacheslav Barshov also coming off a win here. Team Alpha Male product, 2-2 in the UFC thus far. Brian Petrie, floor is yours. Who do you like here at lightweight?
Yeah, so I've established I've been a day one listener. So whenever Ray would drop a little hints of some of the up and coming guys, I would always jump on them and see them. Nas slipped through the cracks on me. I'll be honest. I didn't catch up with him until his Contender Series fight. I'm like, this dude's sturdy. That's the word I have for him. He's sturdy. Yeah. He's thick. He's built. He's a big body dude. Cardio for days. He's durable. He's very well rounded. And the McKinney fight, I think, is clear as day. I mean, he debuted against Evan Elder, who I know is 1-2 in the UFC. That's a good fighter. Then he has Terrence McKinney. Gets overwhelmed by Terrence McKinney like everyone does, stays positive, stays composed, and finishes the fight. That's a big feather in the cap. Now you're getting Slavakos here, and thank you for saying I can say Slavakos because I would have no shot at saying his actual name. This is a guy who I saw fight in Columbus get taken down 11 times by Mark DeCasey. Then he rebounds and fights Mike Davis and gets taken down 9 times. His boxing is clean. His hands are good. In the pocket is great. The body shots falling up to the head and everything is set up flowy, perfect. However, Nas is smart, right? And he's got a good number here. He comes from obviously a great camp. He's well-rounded. He's not going to go in there and just slug it out with Slavakos. He's going to mix everything up. He's going to land their takedowns. Kenny's laughing the whole time. Give me Nas. Give me Nas in this fight. I was going to throw some unis on it, but I'm gonna withstand because I'm gonna get the bootlicker comments in the comments for bootlicking Ray's guys. But I do like Nas big here. Sorry, Kenny. Okay?
Hey, Cody, we got to add Slavakos to the reel, to the Betchka reel.
I get going sometimes, man. My brain gets too slow.
Cut, save, keep that in your pocket, Cody. So good. Brian's the man. Listen, this is a really interesting fight. Is this Battle of the Cobs? Is that what's going on here? Nazim Sadikov is a very, very good fighter. I think he's very good in the pocket. I love his movement, his head movement in particular. I was able to rip to the body. I think he's a more sophisticated striker than people are giving him credit for. And I think him going out there and doing what he did against McKinney shows that he's not only a very technical fighter, but he's very mentally strong as well. So for me, he proved himself. Now, this is not an easy out for him at all. This was very difficult for me to choose here. I think Vyacheslav is a very, very good fighter with serious knockout power. He's good on the ground as well, comes from a great camp. And I think this could go either way, but I believe in Sadikov. I think that he's going to pose a lot of problems for Vyacheslav, especially in the pocket with his boxing. He's got to watch out for the power of Vyacheslav as well. And perhaps on the ground. But again, I'm not so worried on the ground either. I mean, maybe he's a lot better than I think, but give me Sadikov here. Give me Sadikov. I think he gets it done. I'm with you, Brian, on this one. And either way, I think it's going to be a phenomenal
I was
fight.
really hoping Ken Flo faded all 3 of Longo's guys.
Yeah.
Because you know that
I am fair and honest.
You know that word would have gotten to Ray, either 100%. From me or another source. Like, dude, how about Ken Flo going on the air and picking against all of your guys? We'll see if Ken Flo goes for Vola or Saint-Denis coming up here in about a few minutes. But look alive out there, Ken Flo, because you're going to lead us off on 2 of the next 3, including this one, a sneaky big fight at strawweight. 13th ranked Lupi Godinez, minus 130. 10th ranked Tabitha Ricci is plus 110. So the lower-ranked fighter is the betting favorite here, albeit slightly. Godinez did just fight at Noche UFC, submitted Elise Reed with an RNC in round 2. That was her 3rd straight win. She's won 5 of 6 overall. On the other side, Baby Shark Tabitha Ricci has won 4 in a row, last of which a statement, unanimous decision win over Jillian Robertson. That was June 24th. Ken Flo, you know what it is. Losers' title aspirations here. Get set back a full 2 years. Who avoids that fate?
Whew. Well, I think that Godinez, I think the best part of her game is probably her ground game. I think she, especially early on in the fight, I think she does throw with some decent power, but she's going against Tabitha Ricci, who I think is a better grappler overall. So I was a little, I don't know, puzzled by the odds, perhaps. I think that Ricci is being underestimated here. I do think we'll see this fight go to the ground. I think that's where Ricci can really take advantage. Now, Godinez, maybe she hits takedowns and she's good enough to kind of thwart a lot of the attacks of Ricci on her back. But I think Ricci has made some good strides with her striking. She surprised me in her last fight. And I actually picked against her after seeing what she did in her last fight. I'm on the Ricci bandwagon, man. I think her striking, her grappling is going to be a problem here. I think she's the more technical fighter. Doesn't always mean the better fighter is going to win, but I think in this case that will be the case. So
nicely done, Ken Flo. We have seen some money come in on Tabitha Ricci. Plus 110 right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. Bri, huge fight, right? Number 13 versus number 10 in a hugely deep division, right? Like, I say it's somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but the loser of this fight is not going to be in this championship conversation for at least 2 years. Godinez, Ricci, who do you like?
I agree with you. And you're right. The money is coming in. I placed a bet last night when I saw this number researching. I got it at plus 120 on DraftKings Sportsbook. Unbelievable fight. Both these females are very, very similar. Good grapplers, aggressive, similar in size. Ricci 5'1", Godinez 5'2". They are built very similar. Whenever you get grappler versus grappler, they may want to be like, hey, I'm a better grappler. Let's fucking test it. No, I'm a better grappler. That could be that thing in the fight. However, I think Ricci dating Callum Walsh, he was a great up and coming boxer, working with him, training with him in LA, I like that she maybe be rubbing off on some of the striking, or maybe she's working with Freddie Roach, et cetera, et cetera. So I like her striking here. I think Tabitha Ricci is a stud. I've been high on her forever. I mean, she debuted against a killer, but other than that, she's just been flawless, and cardio's good, ground game's good. She adds a little exclamation point with her striking. She's going to be someone fighting for the title. I think these women are going to rematch down the line. I think you're right, John. This is going to set someone back, but I think they're both so talented that they will rematch down the line, maybe for a title fight, or maybe eliminator. But give me Tabitha Ricci. I like the plus money as well. So that's already a bet that's booked, babe. Let's go.
And we'll see if that plus number holds at close coming up on Saturday night. And you're wise to acknowledge the relationship with Callum Walsh, who I believe actually has a boxing showcase couple nights prior in New York City.
He does,
I think you're also going to see Callum Walsh get some of that UFC promotional machine behind him this week as well. All right, folks, pay-per-view main card opener at featherweight. Pat Sabatini minus 130. Diego Lopez is plus 110. So Philly Sabatini, Bri 5-1 in the UFC, submitted Lucas Almeida back in June. Now we see how his grappling holds up against the fellow BJJ black belt and rising superstar Diego Lopez. Submitted Gavin Tucker in 98 seconds back in August. That was his first UFC win. Many fans expect a lot from this man.
No.
Your thoughts on him this weekend against Pat Sabatini?
Let me see if I can get the Diego Lopez going here. I don't know how that's the Diego Lopez. I love this guy. The bet's already in. Him as a plus money I thought was insane. Pat Sabatini is a very good fighter, but he's one-dimensional. He gets hurt on the feet quite a bit. Emmers almost had him out. He's been knocked out by Damon Jackson. Very good jiu-jitsu, but is it good enough against Diego Lopez? I don't know. Is his wrestling good enough? I don't know. Diego Lopez went in there against Mozart Evilov on short notice and gave him a fight, and then beat Gavin Tucker, who's a solid guy. Diego Lopez, one of my favorite movies of all time is Roadhouse. He has a strikingly resemblance to Patrick Swayze. So if you think I'm fading Diego Lopez, you are wrong. Plus money, 2 extra units as well. I love this kid. I think this is a great fight for him. I think he can showcase all his skills, and I think he's going to finish Pat Sabatini too. That's going to be a number I'm going to spritz a little bit later in this week as well.
I was surprised to see Diego Lopez at plus money. And just to be clear, sometimes you guys mess with me on this. When you say 2 extra units, my brain says, well, you're already throwing one. So that sounds like 3. So is it a 2-unit play or a 3-unit
Since I messed up and misspoke, give me 4 total units on it. I'm upping it. My mistake, I'm upping it.
All right, good. Thank you. And I did not intend to call you out, just looking for a little clarity.
I agree. Right.
So a 4-unit play on Diego Lopez. Ken Flo, I write predictively what I think the lines are going to be, and I had Diego Lopez I thought would be minus 160 here. He's plus 110. Your thoughts on him here against very talented Pat Sabatini?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I jumped all over him as well. I have Lopez with 5 units here. I'm kind of pissed you reminded Brian Petrie about that. I was hoping to at least get some kind of a jump on him in some way, shape, or form. Give me 5 on Lopez. Listen, I think that he's the better fighter all the way around. I think he can put it together much better as well. Got to watch out for Sabatini's submission skills. No question about that. But I think that he's a little bit too chaotic, and he has a little bit too many vulnerabilities here against Lopez, who has proven himself in my eyes. I think that he's clean pretty much everywhere. I think he's going to build off of the momentum off his last couple fights, and I think he gets it done.
By the way, guys,
short and sweet.
I was dining at Jay Alexander's the other night. And
I'm familiar.
A young server came up to me, and oh man, he said to me, he's like, dude, the funniest thing you've ever said on the air was when you talked about the custody battles. And I'm like, oh, right now, like, because I think a lot of younger people out there, think that I was like trying to be funny, you know? Yeah. Thank you guys for the support of Jay Alexander's. I love those 2 servers. Anyway, I don't know why I had that passing thought. All right, Ken Flo. This one's for you, buddy. Huge fight at lightweight. Benoit, seek and destroy Saint-Denis, minus 205. Matt Frivola's plus 170. So Saint-Denis' nickname is God of War. Our producer, Cody Merrill, and I, we like Davis and Figueiredo a ton. God of War, Deus de Guerra. That's the God of War. So we kind of think Benoit Saint-Denis needs to go seek and destroy. I don't know. Anyway, trying to follow up what was a violent stoppage of Thiago Moises just 2 months ago here. He's right back on the horse on the road against the man you heard from on our show earlier this week, Matt Frivola. Ken Flo, lead the dance for us here if you'd be so kind. You going Saint-Denis, the favorite, or Matt Frivola, the dog?
Yeah, we have multiple gods of war, apparently. I thought there was just one. Okay, well, I think that this is a very difficult one to pick as well. I think Saint-Denis is going to come in with, his typical style. Now, that doesn't always involve great defense, in my opinion. And I think for Frivola, there's going to be some openings for him to at least land it on the chin. It doesn't mean he's going to put him out, because we've seen how tough Saint-Denis is. We know how good of a chin he has as well. I think it's going to be a war either way. And it very may well come down to who is the tougher individual, who is the guy who is willing to literally die in that cage, God forbid. But both those guys, I think, are willing to go there. I think both of them carry that kind of toughness. I think Frivola, if we're looking at as far as like who's the better technical guy, I think Frivola is probably that guy. I think Saint-Denis is a grinder. He will a lot of the things that he tries to do out there. He might even be the bigger guy. I imagine he probably will. I think Frivola will be faster. I think he'll be more technical. This is a tricky one for me that I want to stay out of. I'm not making a pick on this one, Jon Anik. Nice try. Nice try. So I'm going even Steven all the way around with all of my picks.
I like that.
All right.
So I'm just going to spin it to Longo. The Ken Flo loves Saint-Denis, but out of respect, he abstained. Right.
No, you know what it is? I look at Frivola's smile, and I'm like, I'm picking this guy. He's too nice. I'm not picking against Frivola, but I do not want – I honestly, I don't want to be biased, and I don't want to be swayed a certain way. Having talked to him early on in the week, it's like, well, I'm going to pick Frivola here. This guy is awesome. But I just don't want to be swayed either way.
It is amazing how nice they are as a collective bunch for New Yorkers, right?
Yeah.
Like
they are
Oz
awesome.
and Bazookia, and they're all so nice. Like, I don't know, making me think us Bostonians.
Not in the case,
right.
though, John.
All right, Brian, what do you have for us on this one, my man?
So I'm going to go a little longer than normal. I apologize because Frivola is now a friend of mine. I got to really dive deep into these fights. I spent some time with him in Nashville. We've talked, obviously, via text and whatnot. He's invited me to things. He's an incredibly nice guy. His dad, Sal the Bulldozer, I want him to adopt me. Okay, let's just put it out there. Like, Sal, adopt me, right? Salt of the earth, great people. And I had to look at this because Benoit Saint-Denis is no chump. This guy is a fucking stud. I thought Matt would get a little bit bigger of a name, not distance Saint-Denis. Saint-Denis is a tough fight. I thought Matt, after knocking out Dober, was going to get maybe just a little bit bigger of a name. Instead, he gets kind of a guy with a lukewarm name who might be the hardest fight in the division for him because he's a savage. So when I look down, I break down this fight, Matt's coming off 3 knockout wins, right? He does have good grappling, out-grapple Jalen Turner, and he does have good jiu-jitsu. We saw it in the Contender Series when he got into the UFC. And Benoit Saint-Denis likes to play the jiu-jitsu game. He likes to kick the body, he likes to strike, but his hands are low. And if you look at Frivola's last 3 wins, all 3 by knockout, they came off the back foot, back against the cage, right hand, left hook. And Saint-Denis in the Thiago Moises fight, I know it's Thiago Moises. He's a very good fighter, but he's not a scary striker. He came down with his hand down, swinging at his hips against the cage, and Moises landed some good stuff, just didn't phase him. If Matt lands those things, he's out. He's dead. He's sleeping. I know Saint-Denis is a stud. We saw the abuse he took against Lecky Dos Santos in his debut. People were like, this guy almost died. He goes in the press conference, I'm fine. You know what I mean? This dude's built different. But I love Matt here. I love Matt Frivola here at the plus money, plus 170. I think his wrestling is going to be equal, but I think his submissions are better. I think Saint-Denis relies a lot of heavily on strength and thickness because he is a big boy in there. He'll be bigger than Matt. Matt looks to be in incredible shape. Give me Frivola. Give me Frivola by finish as well. I'm playing that. I'm going to ride the hot hand. I'm going to ride the knockout streak. We're in MSG. They're going to be playing the flutes. I did see early this week the interview with Matt. He didn't have the cornrows in. He had the cornrows in earlier this week. I've been following him on social media. Didn't have him in. I don't know what that says, but give me Frivola. I love it.
Gilbert Durinho Burns has cornrows right now.
I saw that too, yeah.
All right, 3 fights to go. Featured bout at strawweight. 7th-ranked Mackenzie Dern is the minus 198 favorite against number 5 Jessica Andrade, who comes back plus 164. So, Brian, Mackenzie Dern, 8-3 in the UFC thus far. Pretty darn good. She's accrued a lot of experience, now facing a former UFC champion for the first time. And it's a former champion who really needs a win. Andrade, 15-10 in the UFC, but she has lost her last 3. All of them this year. She's already fought 4 times this year. Yeah. The last 3 losses to Erin Blanchfield, Yan Xiaonan, and most recently Tatiana Suarez. So, huge fight here at 115 pounds. You like Mackenzie Dern or Jessica Andrade?
I mean, Andrade is a sad. Look, you just named off the women she fought. Just killers row. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and fight Mackenzie Dern now with no time off. Absolute savage. This fight threw pause because if you check the receipts, you check the tapes, I picked Mackenzie Dern quite a bit. Got a little bit of a crush on her. I like her skills. But in this fight, I don't know. Her wrestling is still not where I want it to be. And Andrade has been taken down and has had trouble off her back. I mean, she's proven that. But I don't know if Mackenzie Dern can get her down with a takedown. And in the clinch, Andrade is strong. In the clinch, Andrade can land shots. Mackenzie Dern has been proven to be durable, tough. But when you get a bomb by Andrade and you're giving me this huge number, I don't see Andrade losing 4 in a row. I just don't. I think she's coming out here. I think she's going to land something big on Mackenzie Dern. I think she's going to show there's a little bit of levels to this. Yeah, I'm 0-3 in my last 3, but guess what? I just fought fucking killers. I'm back now. Give me Andrade in this fight.
All right, Brian likes Jessica Andrade plus 164. And yeah, I would say if you are a heterosexual male, I'd imagine you got some sort of crush on Mackenzie Dern.
Yeah, very true.
Ken, we need a prediction. We don't need to know who you crush on. Dern minus 198, Andrade plus 164.
Mackenzie Dern, she's hot. Okay. So I think that she's much more than that. I think she's extremely dangerous submission-wise. The problem is she needs to get that fight down to the mat. And putting Andrade on her back, I think, is going to be very, very difficult. I actually like this stylistic matchup for Andrade. She just needs to be disciplined here. She needs to put those losses behind her. She needs to come in here focused. Hopefully she's not just because she gets paid pretty well, I think. Hopefully that's not why she's staying busy. Hopefully she sees value in this fight, sees that she can get back on track against a high-profile fighter and a very dangerous fighter in Mackenzie Dern, and is able to stop those takedowns. If she's able to do that, I think that's where she can hurt Mackenzie. Mackenzie gets a little wild out there on the feet. She's been improving her striking a great deal. But that's how Andrade wins this fight, either by just outpointing her on the feet, sticking and moving, stopping the takedowns, or even landing a big bomb and winning by TKO or knockout. The takedown game, it takes time to develop, and I haven't seen massive strides in that aspect from Mackenzie Dern quite yet. I think that's really what she should be working on the most, integrating proper striking in that range into her takedowns. And as far as the cleanliness of those takedowns, I just don't see it yet. It's not so efficient. And if you're going to beat someone like Andrade, you need to get her on her back. From there, Mackenzie submits her in seconds. But I just don't see it happening here at this stage of the game. Perhaps there's a little bit of a drop off in Andrade, but not enough for me to pick against her. I was contemplating putting some units on her. Obviously, I put 5 on Lopez at this stage of the game. I may switch. I may take some of those units and put more on Andrade, depending on what happens in the fight week. So stay tuned for that, boys, on the text. But that's nice. It. I have
both
Andrade.
Guys on the Andrade side. She can be had at plus 164 right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. All right, co-main event for the UFC interim heavyweight title. Tom Aspinall. Tommy, too much. Minus 118. Sergei Pavlovich, minus 102. So Brian Aspinall needed a year to recover after that knee injury sustained in a main event spot against Curtis Blades. He returned, promptly put it all over Marcin Tybura to sort of reassert himself. And now gets his first crack at a UFC title. It comes against a man in Pavlovich who has 6 consecutive knockouts in the UFC. And he was the guy who, of course, was pegged as the backup for the fight that went away between Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic. Perhaps that factors into your handicap, perhaps not. We do need a selection on the co-main event.
What a main event. I mean, I don't know what people are talking about. I know it's Jon Jones, guys. I know it's Stipe, but what a fucking main event we got here. Are you kidding me? Co-main. Excuse me. Not even main event. Yeah. Unbelievable fight here. And this is a tale of two things. I've been on Tommy Aspinall day one. I'm like, this dude's going to be champion. I love him. I was negative with Pavlovich coming in after the Overeem loss. He was getting some knockout wins. I go, yeah, but you still lost to Overeem, right? He's proved me wrong. Like, the guy is an animal, a killer, and scares me a little bit, if we're being honest with you. I mean, the guy's reach is insane. His power is insane. He's only getting better. He's 31 years old. He looked phenomenal against Curtis Blades. He stuffed some takedowns, even though Curtis Blades didn't really shoot that many takedowns, still stuffed them. Pummeled Curtis Blades, who I think is one of the more underappreciated heavyweights in our time. There's not a lot of really high-level heavyweight fights that gets everyone excited. This is one of them. This should get you excited because Aspinall is quick. He's the new breed. He's been trained by his dad. Jiu-jitsu's great. Don't really know how his wrestling is, but he's so flowy on the feet. He moves in and out really good. Chin a little high when he exits it. And Pavlovich straight right hand is deadly. So that is something that keeps replaying in my head. But what's replaying more is Tommy Aspinall jumping in with something, maybe a lead-in elbow, strike, something like that, knocking Pavlovich down, maybe a club and sub situation because Tommy does have some good submissions. I see Aspinall winning this fight. I see him winning by finish. I thought I was going Pavlovich because he's a scary son of a bitch. I'm going Tommy Aspinall. England, you're going to have your first heavyweight champ, I think.
How about that? Ken Flo, Ray Longo, of the final 4 athletes competing on this fight card, was most convicted in his belief that Sergei Pavlovich would win. For me, I was most curious to get your selection on this particular fight, Ken Flo. Dying to know who you like, Sergei Pavlovich or Tom Aspinall.
Yeah, thanks, man. Listen, Pavlovich, extremely aggressive, extremely dangerous. However, what I can't get out of my head is the fact that as he moves forward, those hands drop, chin goes up. If we're pretending that he is unbeatable, then I'm not on that train. I think that he gets hit way too much for me to have 100% confidence in him. And maybe he fixes that. Maybe he calms down in this fight. He fills those holes in, and defensively he comes in looking like a completely different guy. But when we're making picks, I can only go on what we've seen. And for me, it makes me a little bit too uneasy when I see a guy who goes that aggressively towards someone and leaves himself open like that. And I think for Aspinall, I think he can find his chin. I don't think Aspinall needs to even go forward against Pavlovich here, Brian. I think that he's just going to wait for Pavlovich to come to him and then maybe find his chin. Can Aspinall, does he have a pull counter in his repertoire? I think so. I think his kicking game needs to come into play here. We don't see a whole lot of kicks from Pavlovich as well. I think footwork is going to be the key to this fight for Aspinall. It will be won or lost there. If he decides to stand and trade against Pavlovich, yeah, guess what? Pavlovich is knocking him out, okay? The guy's just too powerful. He's too quick as well. So Aspinall needs to be very slick and also maybe needs to use that forward momentum that Pavlovich will inevitably throw at him to maybe level change and put him on his back. That's another way that Aspinall can win this fight. So for me, he's got more ways to win. He's got more tools. Doesn't always mean he's going to win this fight. However, give me Aspinall. I like the kid. I agree with Brian. I think he can be a future champion. Probably has a lot of pressure on his shoulders with all of the UK watching, but I think he gets it done, man.
A little Ken Flo deception in there as well. He likes Tom Aspinall minus 118 against Sergei Pavlovich. And yeah, you're right, dude, to acknowledge not just the power, but the hand speed of Sergei Pavlovich as well. The myths on that dude. All right.
Dangerous.
UFC 295 main event for the undisputed UFC light heavyweight title. Alex Pereira minus 135, the favorite. Jiří Procházka plus 110, the underdog. So Jamal Hill is still the champion. That will no longer be the case as soon as this fight begins. Pereira escaping with a split decision nod over the former champion Blachowicz in his divisional debut at UFC 291 in July. Brian, that laid the foundation for the former middleweight champion to get this title shot, vying to become a two-division champ and taking on the former light heavyweight king Jiří Procházka. Never lost the belt in the octagon and ending his injury-induced layoff here 17 months later at MSG. Pereira, Prochazka, Brian Petrie, who do you have?
I love this fight, guys. I mean, I've been on record saying I'd be a terrible matchmaker. I wouldn't be good, but the co-main event and the main event are ones that I would easily match up. That's how good they are. Unbelievable. 205 was a showcase division back in the UFC 50s when the Ultimate Fighter exploded, when Ken Flo exploded. You had Chuck, you had Randy. 205's back, boys. 205 is back, and I love this fight. I love Jamal Hill. I love Ankalaev. I think there's a lot of interesting guys in this division. Now, when you get to this fight, man, I've never seen a fighter who doesn't speak English take over American social media like Alex Pereira with his just fucking stone face. He's hopping on people's lives with scary man. Like, he's a funny dude. Like, I'm really behind this guy. I feel like a traitor because I love Izzy, and this is Izzy's mortal enemy, and I'm kind of liking Pereira. I'm like, holy shit, this guy's fucking dope. An incredible fighter. He just got inducted to the Glory Kickboxing Hall of Fame. Only third fighter to ever do that. The guy's the real deal on the feet. What he's done in MMA is 8-2. What he's done in MMA is outstandingly impressive. You got to give credit to Glover Teixeira as well, because Glover's been with them the whole way. This dude went to Connecticut and really shored up his takedown game and overall confidence in MMA. With that being said, though, Yuri's fucking nuts. Did you guys watch the Countdown show? He's sitting there like this, doing the interview the whole time. He's got the hair back, the antenna, to get signals. Like, he is borderline Tony Ferguson, Diego Sanchez off the reservation. The problem is it's working. Like, he believes this shit. Like, he is a different kind of animal in there. Like, his fighting style is craziness mixed with tenaciousness, mixed with unrelenting cardio and heart. I mean, look at the Glover fight. He was out like 4 times. He admitted Dominic Reyes knocked him out with an up kick. He woke up and won the fight. Like, this guy is different. And when you look at an MMA standpoint, Jiří does have really good tools. He does have good takedowns. He's got awkward striking, which could be hard for a guy like Alex to find him. If Alex finds him, because that's the biggest thing I see a lot of people saying. If Alex hits Jiří and Yuri's very hittable, it's over. It's hard to argue that because Alex puts everyone out. But Yuri's so funky and awkward, and he's going to come out and do some goofy stuff. Might throw some Alex off. And if he mixes everything in, I think Jiří Procházka wins this fight. I can't believe I said that. I have something written down here, WIKP. Who is Kenny picking? I went to bed thinking that last night. Who the fuck is Kenny picking in this fight? Because I don't know. And I just came to the realization this morning, it's Jiří Procházka. I think it's good. I don't know if he's going to finish, but I like him in this spot here. I can't wait. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just talking at this point. Kenny, please take it away. You're the man. Give me Jiří.
Ken Flo, as of this taping, Alex Pereira minus 135, Jiří Procházka plus 110. Who do you like in the main event?
You know, I talked about earlier in regards to Favola, how I don't want to be swayed by my emotions, okay? And Procházka is one of those guys that gets me going, man. I am absolutely fascinated by that dude. He is a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma, okay? And the way I see this fight, we have fire and ice. Ice is Pereira. We have fire with Procházka. He brings chaos into the cage. He's looking to finish you. or he has no problem being finished himself. He truly brings that kind of samurai mentality into the octagon. It's what makes him so dangerous. It's also what makes him potentially a little vulnerable. He is sometimes gets so excited about getting that finish that he does open himself up. Not so much like a Pavlovich, in my opinion. However, he is a little bit vulnerable. Now, he gets by because he has awesome athleticism, and his unorthodox style can pose a lot of problems. Pereira is more surgical in his approach. He's more of a computer. He goes out there, he tries to problem solve, he figures you out, then he starts to pick you apart. And I think that's what he's going to have to do here. While it could potentially end very quickly, I see it kind of being this kind of slow boil into some kind of explosive thing, and one of these guys wins by knockout. And that's what gets me fired up about this fight. It's brilliant matchmaking, and whoever gets the belt at the end of the night is going to deserve it. I think Pereira is a little bit more clinical, has better fundamentals. And when I'm looking at this fight, while my emotions pull me towards Prochazka, I think me seeing a little bit more solid fundamentals out of Pereira and all the experience that he's accrued at this stage of the game. I also think at 205 pounds, that's more of his weight class. I think that he's more solid at that weight class in every aspect. I think he has more energy. I think he has a better chin. And I think because of that, he has more confidence and can prepare better for fights like this. When you are sucking down weight like I had to at 145 pounds, you got two fights. You got that scale, and then you have that guy after that. And I think for him, he doesn't have that same level of stress heading into a fight at 205 pounds. Gosh, an explosive one. The other thing is the question mark on Prochazka. How healthy is he? I could see him being crazy enough to be like, yeah, I got 1.5 arms. That's probably good enough. I don't know. That maybe isn't an issue. But he certainly is crazy enough to just go out there and fight regardless. And if he was missing all of his limbs, it'd be like Monty Python. I'd be like, yeah, come on, let's bring it. I'm not done yet. I'm going to headbutt you until I win this fight or bite you or whatever. But I think Pereira wins this. I don't think that last fight is a great measure of the kind of fighter that he is. I also think we don't see the threat of a takedown from Prochazka necessarily. So give me Alex Pereira as the next 205. Masterfully handled.
What's that, Brian?
I said, is it Saturday yet? I'm ready to flip my fucking desk. Let's go.
Soon enough. Don't forget, you can get more from Brian Petrie on X at Brian Petrie MMA with his MMA Takes podcast. Buddy, outstanding stuff. Wish you all the best on the board, and we will talk to you in less than a week.
You guys are the best. See you, boys.
There he is, Brian Petrie, with us for the main event challenge. We hope you all will check out the pay-per-view this weekend. It is UFC 295. We got to get on out of here. Remember, all of our new Anik and Florian podcast merchandise, the entire store is up right now at jonanik.com. 20% off everything with code UFC 295. We're also in the process of reworking the One More Sleep designs as well. Those are at millions right now, but eventually everything will move over to jonanik.com. Thank you to our producer, Cody Merrow. Thank you to Brian Petrie. For Ken Flom, Jon Anik. Don't forget, we're back with you Monday, November 13th. We will recap how it all went down at Madison Square Garden. Until then, enjoy the pay-per-view. And to every one of you out there, thank you for supporting the show. This content will always be free for you. With that, for Ken Flom, Jon Anik, we'll talk to you on Monday and see how it goes down in New York City. Until then, yo fucking live.
Are you sure we're not in the Boston Garden? Now every time I start a verse, I break at least 3 commandments. Kinda like Pluto, because I never planned it. I'm outlandish in the way that make Apaches look like they own ranches. It's the art of war. Your blood's the only color on the canvas. And I don't mean it like a thug sense of how you can get got. Fuck being gangsta, I'm hip-hop. You got it? Every time you walk in the label, the A&R's like nodded. Immune to your shit, cause I circle, dotted. Body heat is a toxic leak. Got a beat, I don't got it. Street cop and see, start to think psychic leak. Make the speakers peak elitistly. Off their high horse, make an ass of their views. Your DJ must not know the alphabet, forgetting his cues. My favorite DJ got those and 6 extra L's to abuse. Esoteric John P. and I'm the nuclear school. I'm Raider Ellis, nice to meet you. Short busting my styles. Egocentric, ego tripping with frequent flyer smiles. DJ wants to get at the bird. He gets at the bird. And bird takes the shot. You wanna sit it on us? We got cometos on us.